Oh, wow, look at that. Welcome back to the DBF Garage, where big bore 2-strokes are king and 4-strokes, they just don't matter. So today, I'm actually going to look over the 87 CR500 that I just got from my buddy Jed, and let's see how clapped out this thing actually is and see if it's even worth restoring. So it's worth noting that this 500, I got it from my friend Jed, and he's not the one that destroyed this thing, essentially. He actually bought it from another guy off of Facebook Marketplace, and he was gonna build it or do something with it. It was a pretty decent deal, so he went and bought it. I ended up kind of talking him out of it because we're building his KX500 right here. If you guys haven't seen those videos, go back a couple videos and check them out. Pretty sweet. But anyways, he didn't destroy this bike. I figured I better tell everybody before, somebody gets that impression, because he's just not that guy. So here's the thing with this bike. I don't know what to do with it. I haven't looked at it all that close. I know it's pretty rough from what little bit I've looked at it. I don't know whether to restore this thing back to its all original glory from 1987, or whether to just take the motor out of it and put it in a modern aluminum frame chassis. So that's what we're gonna do today. I'm gonna go roll this thing outside, hit it with some degreaser, pressure wash it off, kind of take a closer look at it and see where we're at. What I want you guys to do is at the end of this video, I want you to comment what you guys would do with this bike. Would you restore it, pull the motor, new chassis? I wanna know what you wanna do, or what you would like me to do. And who knows, we get enough votes one way or the other, maybe that's going to change my mind. So leave a comment below, let me know. Gunk, yeah. And it's cold outside, so holy crap. I don't recommend pressure washing at 9 o'clock in the morning, Southern Utah, where it's about, 30 degrees. Anyways, I'm gonna get Jed's 500 project, set off the lift, roll that 500 back in, and we're gonna play the 500 shuffle, move things around. This ramp fixed, or finished, I guess. Oh yeah. Heck, there actually is a dirt bike underneath all that grease and grime and dirt. Check that out. You can actually see the motor and the carburetor. Wow, that's amazing. So as you can see, this thing cleaned up pretty decent. It's still a little grimy underneath the plastics and, you know, places I couldn't really reach with a pressure washer. But I'm gonna kind of give you a once over on this thing of what I found and give you kind of a basic idea of what kind of shape this bike is actually in. So when my buddy Jed picked this bike up from this individual that he bought it from, he wasn't able to test ride it because it was just out of fuel. We weren't really worried about it, mainly buying it for the motor, and it was a pretty good deal, so we knew if anything we wouldn't get hurt on the thing. But he did tell him, he says, it needs a clutch. After getting it here and looking closer at it, I think the clutch is okay, but let me show you what we found. Look at that rear sprocket. I am pretty darn sure that it's not going to catch the chain when it comes around. That thing is so wore out, it is ridiculous. I mean, that's just the first thing about this bike that we noticed. So neither one of us have actually ridden this bike because the rear sprocket, it's just not going to move. The other major thing about this bike, you guys may know this already, and if you haven't, go back and check out the last video of Jed's 500 build where I actually bought this from him. But when we push it up into the garage from the back of his truck, it wouldn't hardly move. Let me show you why it wouldn't roll very good. So if you look right here on the rear brake caliper, this portion of the rear brake caliper mount is actually supposed to be down inside of the swing arm. There's a chunk of aluminum that this slides on, so when you adjust the tire, the brake slides with it and it keeps the caliper centered in relation to the swing arm. I do not know, I've never seen that. They had to try like crazy to get that back tire on. That had to have been super frustrating, but that's not even the worst part. So if you come back around here and look, you can see the rear rotor is actually digging in to that bracket. Look at that. We're going to tear that apart later on and get a better look at that. So upon closer inspection of this thing, I just noticed, look at the bottom of the frame. See that little dent there? Well, right next to it is a gigantic dent in the frame. They have hit something fairly hard when they've been doing some major enduroing or off-roading in this old girl. I mean, that's definitely repairable, but if I do repair this, I'm gonna have to cut this section of the frame out, rebend some tubing, and weld it in. Another indicator of what kind of shape this bike is in is when I first started it in the previous videos, this thing was so obnoxiously loud, it was ridiculous. Well, upon further investigation on this thing, I noticed the silencer was not even hooked up to the pipe, and it had not been for quite some time. So they've been running this thing without the silencer hooked up, and it is just created a heck of a mess. I cannot believe it didn't melt the airbox more or cause more damage, but look at that. I mean, come on people, let's try a little bit harder there. And then if you look here, the back of the frame has been, and I'm quoting, welded very poorly. I mean, that has not, I mean, just because you know somebody with a welder does not mean they know how to weld. It's not great. They've welded it there, welded it on the silencer, and there's a few other spots on this frame that is pretty much match that. So that's another thing to keep in mind when you guys are deciding whether I should restore this thing or not. The frame on this thing is not in that great a shape. It's all repairable, but not the best. So I figured I'd pull the seat off and just do a quick, look at the air filter. And actually, I'm more surprised than I thought I would be. It is not too terrible. I think it's got, you know, a spider living inside of it, you know, from the indication of all the cobwebs, but actually it's not as dirty as I thought it was going to be. Definitely not what I expected, so that's a plus. So this is kind of a short video, give you guys an idea of the condition this bike is in. I'm not gonna tear into it a whole lot today on this video. I'm gonna save that possibly for another video when I decide what I'm gonna do with this thing. Like I said before, I want you guys to go down in the comments and tell me what direction you'd like to see me go with this bike, and who knows, if I get enough comments one side or the other, I'll do it. So let me know, leave your comments down below. As always, don't forget to hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and I appreciate all your support, and we'll catch you on the next one.